this is the first court that we will be discussing, and this is the court of mercy and grace. So remember, I said the most prominent one, first one that you need to remember, and this is where we start off at point of departure, and a lot of great and amazing things do happen inside mercy and grace. So I try to, generate illustrations like this to just try to bring a bit of just a visualization of what the courts actually do look like and what happens in here. So in this court, it is one of the courts where I see perhaps the greatest cloud of witnesses, apart from as well in the Supreme Court of Heaven, definitely in the court of mercy and grace. So when you enter into this court, as far as my eye can see, I just see balconies and balconies and balconies going up and up and up and up, with the people, which is the great cloud of witnesses, and also the ecclesia, the church of the firstborn, who are seated and present here, and who will also engage, and an innumerable company of angels and other heavenly beings and spiritual beings that will be present and that will be coming in and out the court. God's throne, Father God and righteous judge, his throne, or even when I see the throne of Jesus, obviously Jesus' son, God the Son, their thrones are I mean, I cannot see the end of their thrones. I've never seen the end of their thrones. And I do get the impression that there is no end to his rule and his reign. And that's how come I cannot see the end of it, or that's my understanding or the impression I do get when I see any details about his throne, or when I am aware of his throne, which is, well, most of the times when I engage in the courts, doesn't matter which court you are in, and it doesn't matter which council you are in. Whenever you see the throne of God, you look at the same throne. Okay, it's not that God has different thrones; it's the same throne. It's, imagine if you can see, just imagine a picture of a mountain, and God's throne is established on top of the mountain. So and one court might be on the bottom floor of the mountain, and another court might be in the middle, and another one is on the left side. And so it doesn't matter which court you are in or which council, you're always looking at the very same throne. Okay, even though God can reveal himself in many, many, many different ways. And of course, the more I have these engagements and revelations and experiences with the Lord, the more I get to know him, the more I love him. You cannot help but to love God if you get to know him. The courts have taught me so much about God and who he is, and his noble character and his own humility, his mercy, but also his justice and his righteousness, and also his fairness. He is fair and just towards Satan as well, and towards the kingdom of darkness. God will never be unjust towards the enemy and the kingdom of darkness, because that in fact would make him unjust, and he could never be that. And Satan so very well knows this. God is so noble. Okay, so when you enter this court, as far as your eye sees, you're going to be surrounded by this great cloud of witnesses and the ecclesia, the government of Jesus Christ, whom is present, or whom is supposed to be present, because I think a lot of seats are really empty because people do not know that they have these seats, or they reject it, because a lot of Christians tells me that the courts doesn't exist and they do not believe in it. And I don't know why, because I honestly do not know, because then you shouldn't believe in the Bible either. If you say the courts doesn't exist and you do not believe in them, and why wouldn't you want to? Wouldn't you want the righteous judge to render and grant you a righteous verdict? Doesn't anyone want that and desire that, right? So in this court, I generally see Jesus standing on the right hand of God. as it describes him in the book of Zechariah 3. If you read Zechariah 3, and you see that account of Jesus standing on the right hand of God, the angel of the Lord who stood by, and also the instruction that Jesus gave there to Zechariah and to his court as well. Please go and read that chapter in Zechariah 3 and see what happens there. It's phenomenal and very interesting. All right, now I want to show you a video that actually also illustrates, because remember, this is the court where we silence the accuser of the brethren, right? So I want to just show you a video clip which really illustrates the unholy altars, which I did address and speak about in the previous section, where I spoke about the 7 root problems to deal with to silence the accuser. This is such a brilliant illustration for me about God's courts and also God's judgment against the enemy. But the altars of the unholy priesthood, please look at the illustrations that's inside this video. It is so well done that, I really do want to play it. So let's have a look.
This is the judgment of angels. One by one, the fallen will answer, and heaven will render its final word.
In the dawn of mankind's history, an angelic being rebelled against his creator. Subtle and cunning, he did not wage war with weapons, but with whispers. With a sculptor's skill, he carved idols into the hearts of God's image bearers. Under his influence, altars and temples rose to honor false deities. The blood of the innocent flowed. Truth was exchanged for lies.
Order in the court of heaven! All rise for the King of Kings and Lord of Lords!
Melchior, once tasked with guiding human culture and creativity for God's glory, twisted that influence to promote idolatry and draw humanity away from true worship. Today, before the throne of judgment, he must answer for his rebellion and the souls he led astray. This is the trial of Melchior, the architect of idols.
Melikor, former guiding angel of human culture and creativity. You stand accused of high treason against the Almighty, of ensnaring mankind in idolatry and leading countless souls to destruction. How do you plead?
I plead not guilty. I gave them what their hearts desired. If they chose false gods over the true, their blood is on their own hands.
Let the record show the accused's lack of remorse.
I present the charges, inspiring the worship of idols, accepting sacrifices due to God alone, deceiving kings and prophets, and seducing God's children to profane their souls with abominations like child sacrifice.
They were weak. I merely opened the door to what they wanted anyway. Is it my fault the Almighty remains silent, distant, invisible? I gave them gods they could see, touch, control. Their worship was their choice.
You dare blame the sinful creatures you preyed upon? Call the witnesses!
The prosecution calls Elijah to the witness box.
I, Elijah, stood alone against the 450 prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. I challenged these idol worshippers to prove the power of their so-called God. They cried out and danced in vain all day long. Then I prayed to the Lord on his altar drenched with water. Immediately the fire of God consumed the sacrifice, the altar and the water. The people fell face down, crying out, "The Lord, he is God." I then had the prophets of Baal seized and executed. For there is only one true living God, the Lord.
The prosecution calls Zerai to the witness box.
I served in the courts of Cush, draped in glory but empty inside. When I came to Jerusalem, I came seeking answers. I left with a name, Jesus, and that name lit a fire in my bones. I returned home burning with truth, but the altars of my land burned with something else. Melikor had not left Cush. His priests wore gold and spoke with silver tongues. They welcomed me, then accused me. They said I had betrayed the gods of my ancestors. They demanded I bow to fire and statue.
This is cosmic treason. You didn't just break rank, you broke creation.
The prosecution calls Teresa to the witness box.
I never saw him in flames or shadows. But I saw him in the neon glow of false promises, in temples made not of stone but of screens, in the pursuit of self over sacrifice. I have walked through cities where he wears the mask of progress, of pleasure, of control. He whispers that God is outdated, that truth is relative, that fulfillment is found in the next thing, the next thrill, the next self-made truth.
The court has rendered its final decision.
Melikor, you twisted my good gifts into weapons against those I love. You authored abominations, deceived the weak, and reveled in their damnation. You rejected me and exalted yourself as an idol. I am the only way, truth, and life. All other paths lead to death. You have sealed your fate. I find you guilty of rebellion, idolatry, and the murder of souls. I strip you of your crown and cast you into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth for all eternity.
It's not myth. This is not legend. This is a glimpse of eternity. where rebellion has no hiding place, and the weight of glory cannot be mocked. One judgment rendered, countless more to come. The court remains in session. What you've just witnessed is a dramatized account, built on biblical truth, but portrayed through creative storytelling. While the names, charges, and courtroom details are fictional, the reality is not. There is a coming judgment, a day when fallen angels and all who defied God will face the righteous judge. Revelation 20, verse 11 to 15. And the saints, redeemed by the blood of the Lamb, will reign with him and share in his justice. 1 Corinthians 6, verse 3. Let this not be mere entertainment. Let it stir your heart to worship, to holiness, and to hope.
Well, I think that's a brilliant illustration of both the works of the enemy, the idolatry, the unholy priesthood that I've referred to that has caused and created this demonic altars, just like you saw now that was portrayed. And that did not just happen 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 years ago, but is still happening today, and which actually gives a glimpse of understanding of how the enemy really gets his evil claws and his filthy seed mixed with our DNA. But then also the illustration of the righteous judge and his courts, and how this demonic rulers and principalities and angels are being held accountable, will be held accountable, and how we should be functioning as God's ecclesia together with him, so that we can truly prune this earth of Satan's seed. I'll see you in the next lesson. Shalom.